Warning. The following video contains strong language that some viewers may find offensive or disturbing.
What was the worst phase of your life? Probably the one where I was shoveling drugs and liquor down my neck for about 10 years straight. Same, except just liquor, so it was more socially acceptable. I'm a year and a half sober after 13 years of alcoholism, and I still have people ask me when I'm going to start drinking again. I just tell them I've already met my drink limit. Just a lot earlier than most people. 2016 to 2018. My wife and I were thinking of separating after moving 2 states away for her job. Then she got diagnosed with cancer. I couldn't divorce her in those circumstances. I felt like I was essentially losing her twice, while working 56-hour weeks to keep us afloat when she couldn't. I was alone except for her, struggling not to resent her and repair our marriage, and exhausted and anxious all the time. I dropped 30 pounds without intent and was at some points selling my plasma to make rent. But she survived, so far cancer-free, and so did our marriage. And we moved back home. And now I have custody of my son from my first marriage, and we each have better jobs. We've forgiven each other and built a comfortable, stable life for our family. I would do it all again if I had to. This was worse than boot camp. Worse than divorce. Worse than my mom dying. And worse than my year deployed to Afghanistan. Edit. I was not expecting this level of blow up. I added the resolution mostly because I didn't want people to worry. Glad so many found it inspiring. But sad that following through on that in sickness and in health business is apparently kind of rare. I have never shared all the details of this story, but this is the most complete version anyone outside my immediate family has heard. I really needed to unburden with this. Thank you all. Shortly after turning 25, I got really sick. Was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Horrible few years fighting for my life. Pain, nausea, depression when it was supposed to be the best times. Forced to drop out of grad school shortly after getting accepted cause I couldn't do it from the hospital. I spent more time in the hospital than at home. 14 months of morphine. 5+ months of being TPN, aka being fed through a tube in my arm that kept getting infected, so had to move it to the opposite arm a couple times. Then complications such as multiple pulmonary embolisms, which are painful. Collapsed lung, etc. Lost way too much weight way too fast. Face ballooned up and acne from all the steroids and mounting medical debts that I stopped counting when it hit $2 million. Shittiest part of my life by far. Right now, my mom passed away from bone cancer. I left a high-paying job to be her full-time caretaker over the final 2 years. That left me living in her house, with only a struggling consulting business. COVID killed that. Right now I am waiting for my unemployment to be approved. But it's been a month and no money yet. No mom, no job, no money. My vehicle's alternator died this morning. Sunday is Mother's Day. I am a mess. Edit. I am overwhelmed. I don't even know what to say. Thank you to everyone who reached out with compassion and offers of support. I am so grateful. I try to find work from home, so not having a working car is okay for now. Please, instead of helping just me, donate to your local food bank. I heard on the radio that there were over 1,500 cars lined up at a food bank in Texas. Life is hard for so many right now. Blessings to all. You're a fucking champ for being your mom's caregiver for 2 years. That shit is tough. When my dad had colon cancer in 2015, my mom, my brother, and I took turns taking care of him. It was horrible having to watch him die, but I'm glad he was at least able to die at home surrounded by his family. Now my mom and I are going through cancer treatment. She's helping take care of me when I need it because my treatment is more intensive than hers. Being depressed as a teenager. Missed out on so many things growing up because of it. I still feel like I'm playing catch up in life sometimes. About 2 years ago, when I was severely depressed. Life wasn't going the way I wanted it to. I was verbally abused every day by my boss. Hated my life and the decisions I made. Couldn't afford rent or food. I was starving most of the time. I was seriously considering just ending it all because I couldn't stand this pathetic existence anymore. Luckily my old boss needed me back, so I quit my toxic job and went back to my old one, and I started making money again. Eventually moved into my own house, and things have been great ever since. I still go through periods of depression. I always have struggled with that. But I don't want to kill myself anymore, which is nice. The constant emotional abuse from my biological mom, brothers, and physical abuse from dad. Now I am adopted, going strong almost 1 year now, and am as happy as can be. 1998 to 2013. I was ages 20 to 35. I was in a terrible, loveless, painful marriage. I was trying so hard to raise 2 kids, build a career, make a home, but I had nothing. Every one of my successes was systematically diminished. I spent 15 years barely breathing. When I think of my ex-husband, it's like thinking about an unpleasant stranger I met in passing many years ago. It's like my mind won't let me return there. Thank fuck it's over. Rig now. I'm currently at my rock bottom. I was laid off due to COVID. My husband left me 6 months ago, and I'm still trying to finalize a divorce from the love of my life. Quarantine doesn't help because all I have is time to think about how shitty my life has become. I know that I'm strong enough to get through this, but at this point it feels impossible. When I had cancer, I was diagnosed with leukemia at age 9. Since I was a kid, it was hard for me. Side effects are the worst. From chemo vomits to overweight due to being in a hospital bed. And the few times I ate were junk food cravings. It sucked at the time, but I learned a lot from it. Currently, I graduated with a degree in engineering in 2019. Have been unemployed for a year ever since I graduated. All my friends are successful. This isn't the ideal solution, but you might look into moving. Where I am, there are a ton of engineering jobs available and not enough people with degrees filling them. It might be a function of location, or also hands-on experience. Maybe look into seeing if you could learn some instruments or new techniques at a local institution to put on your resume. Middle school. Parents just got divorced. Mom was going back to school and working 2 jobs. So I never saw her. We lived in a bad part of town, and I was a morbidly obese, pale nerd. Kids literally punched me in the stomach as hard as they could when we changed classes. They'd take my backpack and throw it in the shower and turn the water on. They'd grab my stomach and my chest when I would change in phys ed. One day in 8th grade, I finally snapped and got into a huge fight. Mom got called into the school, and when she gets there, I broke down hysterically, crying about what had happened to me for years and how I couldn't take it anymore. She called my father, whom she fucking hated, and I spent the next 2 years living with him until she finished school. A 5-year period of time. Starting at age 37 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. About a year later my younger brother was diagnosed with glioblastoma. He lived for another 2 years and a few months. The following year marked 5 years of me being cancer-free. And a year since my brother had passed, and it felt hopeful, like we were turning a corner into a better place. Less than 2 weeks after the 5-year anniversary of my mastectomy, my mother ran a stop sign. She had both of my children in the car with her, taking them back to her house to make Christmas decorations. A truck hit her, T-boned the driver's side of the car. We received a call from someone at the scene. My mother died instantly. Our kids were taken to 2 separate hospitals because they were concerned that one was injured more seriously than the other, so we had to decide which injured child to go to. Both kids ended up being okay. A couple of broken bones and concussions, but nothing too bad. So actually a longer than 5-year period, but I can't really give a specific time the shitstorm ended. It just eventually faded out. I had just dropped out of college. My girlfriend had left me. I loved back in with my mom and I hated myself. I worked the overnight shift at a Hess and I would spend all my days waking up for work. Come home, stare in the mirror for hours and wish myself dead. Wake up and do it again. For months, I started drinking, stealing pills and becoming a social recluse. Then, I found music and poetry. I would write my feelings down into rhyme and it was just so therapeutic. Then I found real therapy. I started on antidepressants and started looking more forward to life. Been on Lexapro for 6 years. I have a 2-year-old daughter and when things get tough I think about how far I've come. I am leagues away from that time. There's one thing I've learned in life, it's that even when things seem to be at their lowest, it always gets better. Pre-serious dating. Post-sexual discovery. I felt mature enough to date. But not confident enough. It ended up with me just drinking and partying way too much and feeling kinda empty. January 18th to February 5th, 2020. On January 18th my husband was killed in a car accident. For 5 weeks I had no hope for the future. Then I found out I was pregnant. Our first and only child. It's still fucking hard, but now I have hope and many moments of genuine excitement and joy. Yeah, no, this reminds me of my mom. My biological father died in a car accident when I was less than 6 months old. I'm 27 now. My mom was a nobody. An uneducated hick of a girl from BFE, Louisiana. Now she has 2 kids who both just got married. My sister just bought her second apartment with her husband. I'm moving to Spain to be with my wife once COVID passes. My mom graduated from university on the president's list. Literally the top student in the university. Not just her class. The university. She's been a teacher for about a decade now. And is largely considered the best teacher in her school. I'm not saying this to brag. Just wanted to give you an example of someone who was in a similar situation. Hope you work things out. Good luck. The fall semester of my freshman year of college 2017. I was lonely and depressed at a college that I hated and all of my friends from home were having the times of their lives at their dream schools. My best friend was also battling his own demons, his brother had killed himself. I didn't want to be an extra burden on him. I had 0 friends. I gained a lot of weight. All I did was go to class and watch movies in my dorm. I was majoring in film. But all of the kids made fun of me for being a sort of Hermione Granger figure who knew all the answers. They'd always make fun of me. I thought college was supposed to be exciting. But it almost felt like those corny high school movies. I constantly referred to that period as the 13th grade. Anyway, during winter break, my parents asked me how college was and I burst into tears randomly. They said it was fine for me to transfer, they really liked the school so there was some guilt there too. Anyway, 3 years later, I'm at my dream school, NYU. I've made lots of lovely new friends. I have professors that know what they're teaching. And there's lots of opportunities, granted. This was all pre-quarantine. 2008 to 2011. I was misdiagnosed with a certain mental illness rather than the mental illnesses I actually have. I was put on some strong drugs to control the condition they thought I had. I finally got help when I tried to kill myself. I don't remember 3 entire years of my daughter's lives because those meds fucked with my brain. I feel like a horrible mother for not being able to answer questions about this time period. I'm better now, but it sucks that I lost those years. This probs isn't as bad as some people's, but maybe it will resonate with someone people. But the transition from being a student with no responsibilities into your first year or so of work. Giving up old habits. Losing touch with people and moving away for work. Not being able to do as much fun stuff as you once could. That time in my life wasn't really terrible, but it was sad to move on from it. I had a wigga phase when I was 13 to 14 years old. I was talking ghetto, wearing Wu-Tang jeans that was hanging on for dear life off of my ass cheeks. A shirt longer than my pants and a red bandana. But I grew up in that kind of neighborhood. You had to fit in somehow. Thinking back on it. Damn, embarrassing stuff. I'm so happy cameras on phones weren't a thing back then. Throughout my teens I had no concept of self-worth. I have been overweight for almost my entire life and never viewed myself as anything except a 1/10. I made some terrible choices that I wish I could change due to having such low self-esteem. I put myself in danger and was just straight up stupid. I didn't feel that I deserved any better though. As an adult, things have gotten better and I have a loving husband that helps build me up. It has been a continual journey towards improving my health both mentally and physically. But I feel much better for it. Also, I had many friends with this same mindset. Friends that were absolutely gorgeous to me felt worthless and made some of the same choices that I did. I never understood how there were so many of us. As a teacher, I always keep that in mind as I try to build my students up. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. See you next time.